Mr. Aaron Tonks, as I live and breathe, it's good to see you, mate.
It's good to see you, my fellow friend.
Well, mate, it's been like trying to nail a jelly to a wall getting you on a podcast, so I'm glad that the day has finally come. When you rang me then, 5 minutes before we was about to kick off, I thought, don't you dare, don't do it, don't do it. So, no, I'm glad to see you here, mate.
I'm glad to be here. I nearly did, but no.
Nothing to be nervous of, but mate, I'm telling you. So, anyone who's listening and not watching, this isn't going to be particularly good podcast content, I guess. But Aaron's got a new swirly fancy iPad, and it's just kind of like he's got his motion tracker. So every time he moves, the camera goes all over the place. So I'm getting a bit dizzy as we speak. So hopefully I can hold it together. But Aaron, how's life?
Life's good, life's good. It ain't rained for 3 weeks. But apart from that, everything's brilliant. I've got a new kitchen, new sink pipes because they all blew up on me a few weeks back or whatever.
Yes.
Went everywhere.
Yeah.
Life's brilliant. Cooking on gas, as I'd say.
Good man, good man. Well, Aaron, obviously we've been working together for a good while now. How long has it been since you first joined eXp? It's been
This is my third year that I'm in now. So
going into the third year, so 2 complete years. Mate, it's crazy. Like, 'cause I remember it like yesterday when we first connected and you gave me a call. And I remember being stood on a wet, rainy, Fylde Coast afternoon in my conservatory. And we was having a chat and you was kind of loosely thinking about setting something up. And that only feels like yesterday. And to think how fast that 2 year period has gone and how much you've achieved in between is frankly scary, but mind blowing and exciting in equal measure. So, Aaron, just want to have a bit of a chat about your background, really, and sort of your history in the space and really how you got to the point where you are now. So for anyone out there who maybe isn't familiar with you, who doesn't follow you on social media, who doesn't know your story, I'll just shut up for a few minutes, put the spotlight on you, mate. And if you could just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you're based, all that kind of good stuff.
yeah, no, honestly, it'll be my pleasure. So Aaron Tonks, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook if you don't already. Now, Aaron Tonks, I was born on the 28th of February 1993. I'm only joking, I'm going to get that far back. I am turning 30 this 28th of Feb, so gifts are welcome. My address is on Google. For a number of years, property. I've never ever really been into property before. I used to work in the prison service. I'd done all the bar shifts, all the bar work, bar management. Then I worked in the prison service as a prison officer. And one day, something happened within the service that just made me think, oh, I need to get out of this job. Let's see what I can do. And then I went for a job interview with my old company that I worked for, Dixon's. I took a heavy pay cut, but one of them. So I worked for Dixon's, done some training with them, and just fell in love with property, to be honest. I've always wanted, to be fair, as a kid, I was always watching those programs, watching all these homes under the hammer, sun traps, stuff abroad. And I thought, it's something I could get into. And then through the sort of rankings with the corporates, went to some independents, and then just in the nicest possible way, I just couldn't pull up with where I was any longer. I just couldn't pull up with the constant 5 second, literally every 5 seconds, the phone was ringing saying, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you hit five sales this week? Have you done 10 viewings today? And, I was a branch manager at that point. And to be fair, it just felt like I was being smothered from every direction. I went into a branch and I went in, and this is, I will be very careful. There was a pipeline of like £150,000, and when I stepped in as manager, I had to remove 50% to fix it was all fake. It was kind of someone had threw, pardon the French, threw poo at the wall. I won't swear yet. I don't know if I can on this.
No, you absolutely can, mate. Fuck it.
They threw shit at the wall. It didn't stick, and I thought, you know what, it's not how I am. I'm not that person to go out there and just sit in front of a client and say, right, I've been here 10 minutes, I haven't made 5-6 grand off of you yet. Let me just try and see what I can do. And had a baby during the first lockdown through COVID. And it kind of just pieced it all together for me. I hit a realist moment. And as you mentioned, you was in your conservatory on a cold, wet day. I was sat outside under the pagoda. And when I first spoke to you, I was introduced your details initially through Chris. And, I spoke to you and I thought, not once, I could resonate with you. It's kind of, I truly believe I've got a similar sort of outlook, and I want the best. I know we all do, but I could just resonate with you, and you didn't say anything to me. You just told me straight facts how it is, and that's it. And I thought, you know what? Let's take this one step further. Then I spoke to Adam, and to me, it was a no-brainer. It was just jump in, get straight in, and obviously I'm super thrilled to where I am and how far I've progressed and come today, because there's no target setting, there's none of this. It is your own business. You set your own fees. You do whatever you want in that respect, following guidelines, obviously. But yeah, I couldn't be happy with the position that I'm in, and I am able to support the family the way I am now as well. So yeah.
Incredible, incredible. And we'll pick up more on that latter part, I'm sure, as the conversation goes on. But just what I wanted to dig into there. So you obviously had a completely different industry and you found yourself in property. Was that driven more out of desperation of getting out of your old job, or did you see a viable career path to make a load of money and do great things in estate agency? Did you just kind of jump into it by accident, or was there some sort of like planning and foresight behind it?
Well, I'd say initially it would have been jumping in and just going for it, but with the training and with what I saw and with what I was advised, and the other career path was me was a chef. I was no good as a cook. I am now. Though. I can do good poached eggs if you want to know. But no, I saw what it could be, and I saw in my head where I could be, and I had these fancy. I always say, and I'll do that quote later. Actually, I'll drop that quote later on because it's more relevant. But no, and with how it's been and how it's gone, if I'd have said 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I first started, would I see myself where I am here today? And the answer is yes. If you'd have asked me sort of 3-4 years into the business, into the corporate world that I was in, and you'd have asked me, where do you see yourself? I'd have probably said, unfortunately, I see myself stuck in a chair in this current office, because there was no real, it was kind of, I was smothered and it was all damp and like a fireproof blanket putting my fire out. But now, being able to use eXp as that freedom and that trampoline to bounce up, I'd say I've done the right thing. And if you'd have asked me several years ago, would I see myself where I am today? No, because I couldn't possibly see past that 9 till 5 role. I couldn't get out of it.
Mate, it's crazy how things evolve though, and sometimes life's got a grander plan for us than we've got for
Yeah.
ourselves, and it's good to see all the sort of pieces eventually fall into place for you. Um, when you made the decision to come into eXp, and this is just something I want to zone into for a minute, because I know that obviously you cut your teeth, you learnt your craft, you got your training, you're a fantastic agent. I'm not blowing smoke with your backside. That's not me just saying that for a podcast. That's reflected in performance, the figures, the traction that you've got in your local market, the money that you've made, and what you've gone on to achieve. So clearly the agency that recruited you, albeit it didn't quite work out with any longevity in the end, they must have done a good job in training and developing you, because to take you from a different industry and mold you into the agent that you are today, shows that they was doing something right. When you made the transition to leave the corporate world and come into setting up the Tonks brand, if you like, was that more to do with circumstances, or was that a yearning to make more money? Because I know you mentioned that you felt as though you were suffocated. There was a lot of targets. It sounds like there was a lot of stick and not a lot of carrot. Like it was just constant. Have you done this? Have you done that? That micromanagement can be suffocating. I've been there myself in the past. Was it the circumstance that drove you out, or was it in a sort of itch that you needed to scratch in setting up your own business? Like, what was the motivator? What was the catalyst that eventually led you to pulling that trigger?
I'd say it was an itch I couldn't scratch. So deep down, I always wanted to run my own business. Obviously, everyone wants to run a successful business, and that freedom for me, I couldn't be that person to be micromanaged. I couldn't be that person to constantly get phone calls. The phone calls I want are from family, friends, and clients, not from regionals saying, "Right, have you done this? Have you done that? Why have you done this? Why have you done that? How come they're not out canvassing this, this, this?" It was really that just throwing it all on me, and I had to. If I didn't do this, then I would be forever thinking, "What if? What if?" Where would I be now? I don't want to think about where I'd be now if I didn't, because of where I am now is because I took the leap. I took that leap of faith, and I had nothing at the time. I had a family, I had a newborn baby, a house to run, mortgage to pay, bills to pay. But I saw what the market was missing, and I saw that, with a bit of market research, with a bit more, with the tenacity that I've got, and with the local knowledge that I've got, and the job training that I've got, why couldn't I be successful? Why wouldn't I be successful? And it soon became apparent when I did certain door knocking, speaking to people, speaking to local neighbourhood, that they need someone like me to come and be their estate agent and their local independent estate agent at that. And being powered by eXp has given me that freedom to be able to really do what I wanted to do and service the clients the way I needed to service them.
When you came into the framework, and I'm making assumptions here based on the conversations that I've had with other agents and also based on my personal experience, being that I was in a similar boat to you. You know, I had a young family, a little baby. Esme was 18 months when I set my business up. I had Rebecca, who had a job, but it wasn't an amazingly well paid
Yeah.
job. And there's so many parallels there between you, Sarah, and your family and your setup. I know that when I spoke to Becky about doing it, there was oh, but what if it doesn't work? What's the consequence if this happens? Was there a similar conversation in your house, and did you ever factor in the possibility of failure? And if you did, how did you overcome that and use that as fuel to kind of spring you on to what you went to achieve? I'd be interested to know if there was any hesitances.
Yeah, of course. The failure word is always sitting there in the forefront, you know, in the background, wherever it is, it's always going to be somewhere because there is always going to be that what if. You can't always be super positive because what if. Me, Sarah, sat down, we had a conversation, and she was currently working for an agent, a different agent, and it was like, right, okay, this is my plan. We wrote down every single outgoing. What could we sort of get rid of? Like, could we remove some of the Sky package? Could we downgrade phones just in case it didn't happen? You know, but for me, it was, you know what, we're not going to do any of that initially. I'm just going to put everything into this, blood, sweat, tears, late nights. I'm going to phone everyone. I'm going to visit. I'm going to meet everyone. I'm going to do it because I can't physically for my own well-being, and then for the families, I couldn't be where I was, and I couldn't see myself there much longer, and if at all. So I couldn't go out to a property under that sort of umbrella corporation and do a job and do a service because I didn't believe in it. So to me, it was more damaging to be in the office environment. So we had a conversation about failure. We said, look, what if it doesn't happen? And then with me, I've always worked since the age of 14. I've always done jobs. So I said, look, I'll get a paper round, I'll clean glasses again, I'll go back, I'll do whatever it takes to put sort of food on the plate, pay the bills. Sarah had a good job, good salary anyway, so it's always that to fall back on. But it was the fact that setting up my own business with eXp, it didn't cost me an arm and a leg, and it was sort of the first 3, 4, 5 months I could see what I was going to do. Obviously, this is me imagining it, but it came to light, and it happened because I had a picture, I painted it, and no Picasso, don't get me wrong, but it paid off and it's worked. So
There's a lot to be said about like happiness as well, isn't there? You know, like
yeah,
it's one of them, like things could go wrong, and there's always a possibility that things could go wrong. Things could go wrong even now. Like, you know, we're all at risk of things going pear-shaped. So that's
yeah,
just the nature of life. But I think sometimes when you start getting excited about what could go right rather than being sort of stopped in your tracks and paralyzed by what could go wrong, life is a much better experience, and you tend to be able to roll the dice and find the strength more often than what you don't. And you know, if you're miserable in your current setup, if you're coming home from work in a bad mood every day and you're dreading getting up every Monday morning, and you're counting the clock every second of the day until you get to 5 p.m. where you can clock off, that's no way to live your life. You know, our careers, our work, you know, it takes up such a large proportion of our typical week, of our month, of our year. It takes us away from our family, away from our hobbies, away from our passions and things that we could otherwise be doing. You can't live a life where you feel suffocated by your surroundings, because that's no life at all. So, mate, props to you for taking the risk. And, you know, it's good to see all this time on that it's paid off. This next step, mate, so when you've set your agency up, I'm not looking to make this an EXP sales pitch or talk about anything, you know, that EXP provided for you, because eXp serve their place, but ultimately every agent lives and dies by their own success. You know, you're in control of your own destiny. You're where you are today because of the hard work that you put in, the perseverance, the hours, the absolutely relentless approach that you took to your social media and building brand in your local community. So you need absolute props for getting to where you are. You should be so proud, and I'm sure your family are as well, Aaron. But I'm keen to know, in that early stage, like, you've got a bit of a snowball now where you've got a load of boards, people know who you are, you've got a ton of content, you've got loads of social proof, loads of properties, loads of success, loads of referrals and recommendation. So I'm sure that listings are coming to you today a bit easier than what they were 2 years ago. But I'm interested in what that pushing the snowball up the hill was like when nobody really knew who you were and you launched the business and you was fresh and it was all new. How did you go about getting those first 5, 10, 15 customers? What did that startup phase look like?
the start phase for me was always from the day one. So the moment I woke up in the morning, it was literally, I knew what I was going to do that day, and the planning element. If I can't go into this and just wing it initially, although I could say I did a little bit, or a lot.
We're all winging it to an extent, I guess.
Yeah. But no, from that moment, it was literally, I phoned every local business. I wanted to be that face, that brand. I wanted people to know my voice. I wanted people to resonate with me and just know I ain't here for you to help me at first. I will put your business in the limelight as well. So phone calls that I made to local security companies, local card shops, local everything. I spoke to them and said, right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be the new local estate agent, bad by eXp, and I'm gonna do this for my clients. How can I help you? You're a security company. Let me put a leaflet in one of my packs. Let me speak to people about how having having a camera security alarm affects or doesn't affect their property, and then I'll put them in touch with you. And that people instantly like, you know what? Not once. There's estate agents that have been around here for 186 years. Not once has that ever happened. And people are quick to get something taken off them, but they're never giving anything back. So I was like, this is where I'm going to be different. People that I spent a fortune initially. Say a fortune. I ordered 100 cards off of some young lady who made handmade cards, and it was just a thank you. So it was a thank you card with a picture of like a house on saying Aaron Tonks property. And I gave that to anyone that had me out for evaluation, because even though it wasn't an instruction, it was a valuation. And the fact that they're allowing me in their doorstep when I'm a nobody initially and I've come from nothing, they don't know me, they have no reason to let me in. And then they're trusting me to then sell the house and onwards and onwards. And that was the push up, was to me instantly, it's going to be a struggle. It's not easy. And for me, I saw what I had to do and I saw what could potentially go wrong. So it was having that plan B. And if someone said to me, I ain't got time to speak to you, I'll speak to them in the shop. I'll go to them. I'll speak to them. I'll be the face. I've got my branded gear. I'll speak to them and just say, look, this is who I am. I'm not here to, I don't want your house. I do, but I don't want your house at first. Let's build that relationship, build the trust, which is another word for prospecting. Obviously, you build the relationships, you talk. But for me, the up push was just me introducing myself to people and, door knocking. Why should they even listen to me? I've not got one property on the market. I've been going, 2 hours? Why are they going to let me have their house? And the reason is because I actually care. I've shown them a report. I ain't going to give them a sales pitch saying your pictures are wrong, this, and this. It's what do they want? Instead of, right, your house on the market, let me help you. It's, right, have you found a property? No, what you're looking for, brilliant, nice, okay, let's do that. And I tell you what, how many viewings you had? 5 viewings. I'm not going to teach anyone to suck eggs, but build the relationship. And for me, the uphill was just the relationship building. Once you built it, then it started to fall down and people's barriers were broken in that respect, in a good way. And that's it. It's a human.
See, it's interesting you say don't want to teach you how to suck eggs, but I think when it comes to door knocking, I think we do need to teach you how to suck eggs, because I think there's a lot of time, people are paralyzed again by the fear of what could go wrong, and they don't do it because they fear rejection. What if someone shouts at me? What if someone slams the door in my face? What if I feel a bit silly, a bit stupid, a bit belittled? And all these fears and the anxiety around what could go wrong stop people from focusing on what could go right, which is ultimately forming a new relationship, getting your brand in front of someone, having a conversation with a motivated homeowner, and maybe, who knows, even getting a listing and making some money for your startup business. So when you did on that door, when you did the door knock, you sort of knock on, and did you say that you go down more of obviously you're trying to get into conversation rather than saying, oh, my name's Aaron, I've set up a business, can I sell your house? You take more of a wider approach to that conversation by the sounds of it.
Yeah, one of my first door knocks was very ballsy. It was very, right, okay, I'm an estate agent. Obviously, here's who I am. I've got one follower. No, but I'd knock on the door and I'd speak to them and be like, right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell your house to you. If I can sell your house to you, can you then trust me to sell it to somebody else? Because I live at the bottom of the road. I'm here. I know the area. Like, you step outside, give us a little, tour. I'll show you. I don't even know their house, but I'd seen it on Rightmove, so obviously I'd done my research, which they liked. And I'd walk in. I walked into the property with them as if they were viewers, and I gave them the tour of their life. And they said to me, one, why would you even do that? Two, that's just ridiculously, you're putting yourself well out there when the estate agent with the board up hasn't called me. They haven't even shown anyone in 2 weeks. They've not texted me. They've not WhatsApp. They've not done anything. And I said, at the end of the day, you're here to sell something. It's like, you're not doing it for fun. You're not doing it just to show someone your property. I went, if I've sold it to you, which that was my first instruction, and they said, right, we're going to disinstruct them. We're going to put you on. And then sold it 2 weeks later. Didn't even reduce the price.
That's brilliant, and that's a very unusual, unique approach. I've not seen that
Not
before, but but it sounds like you should. It clearly worked for you on that occasion.
Yeah.
And just another thing, mate, that I want to double back on a little bit is I just want to highlight what I believe is a great idea in terms of those steps that you took in the early stages. Because one, the thank you card element, because if you just put yourself in the position of a customer and you invite somebody around to value your property, you go through the whole thing, and then as the person's leaving, they say, look, I know this isn't the typical thing to do, but I just wanted to pass on this card. My mum told me to never turn up to someone's house empty-handed, and I just wanted to say thank you. Like, regardless of what you decide to do next, regardless of who you choose to market your home, the fact that you've considered me, you've invited me out, you've given me the time of day, we've had a conversation, it's really given me a lot of enthusiasm for the future growth of my business. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time. Just that little 30-second conversation on the doorstep as you're leaving and handing over that card so they've got something to remember you by, I think that would leave a really positive taste in my mouth. And even if I was thinking, I might use Aaron, but God, Dixon's have been around a bit longer and I feel a bit more comfortable with them because I recognise the boards or whatever, that would probably clinch it for me because I think, oh, what a nice, humble guy. I want to see the small guy do well. I want to give him some business. I want to give him some momentum. I want to see him go on and succeed. So I think that thing with a thank you card, I think that really appeals to the emotion of humans and the people element of the business. And it kind of forces them to look at you more as a person rather than a commodity. And I think that's a really intelligent thing to be doing. So again, I've never done that myself, but I can see the power in doing that. And that's something that in my coaching calls, I'm going to now start passing on to the early stage agents to make sure they're implementing. And the second thing was, and this takes me quite nicely on into the next point, Aaron. You was talking about one of the first things that you did was ring around, any random businesses. And I think again, going back to that whole aspect of appealing to people's emotions and getting to know people on a human level rather than being, hey, I'm a business owner, I'm an estate agent, I sell houses, you're a coffee shop, you sell coffees, saying to that local business, look, I'm a local agent. I've just set up. I know how tough it is being a small business, since though we're both in the same boat. I'm going to be dealing with buyers that are moving into the area for the first time. They're not going to know who does the best sandwich, where to get lunch on the lunch break, who does the best latte in the morning. Let me take a flyer, let me take a menu, let me take a card, and I'll put that in my welcome pack. So when somebody moves into a new house and I give them the toilet roll, the disinfectant spray, the tea bags, the milk, the bread on the moving hamper, with that, they've got a nice little flyer for your business, and I'll recommend you to everyone who moves into the Halesowen area so they know where to go for their flat white before the school run. And I think whether or not people ultimately do go ahead and use that coffee shop or buy the sandwiches from that sandwich shop, I think the fact that you've shown that courtesy and you've had that frame of mind to build that relationship and extend that olive branch to another local business owner, it leaves a real positive taste in their mouth. So irrespective of how much or how little business that eventually leads to, they think, what a nice guy. I really appreciate him taking the time out. And I think, again, a local business owner is just another local resident that speaks to thousands of local residents every month. So it kind of pays dividends to be in their good books and be at the forefront of their mind and the tip of their tongue when they're speaking to people in the shop or whatever. So that's a really, whether or not that was luck or judgment, I don't know. But looking back, I think that was a really smart thing for you to do. And the reason why I say, Aaron, that ties into the next point is because both of those things are you appealing to the emotion of people in your market. Both of those things are you embedding yourself in the community. And that's something that's really been an underpin of your business over the last couple of years. That's the reason why you are today. Would you agree with that analysis?
Completely agree, yeah, 100%.
And tell me then, what else have you done over the years? If you could give me an example or two of things that you've done, strategies you've implemented, actions that you've taken to kind of solidify yourself as that local community family guy. Like, how have you adopted that role? Because you certainly have adopted that role.
Yeah, so within the first year, I'm going to go back to the COVID startup, and we obviously we've got children, and I noticed a lot of people were sticking on Facebook where they were devastated for the children because events were being cancelled, especially towards Christmas, where Santa was getting cancelled, all the sleigh rides, everything was just being cancelled. It was never real positive. It was all negative. So what I did was I approached the local council and said, right, this is my plan, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, and the reason I want to do it. So they were a bit like, right, okay, as long as we've got 5,000 cones lined up, we'll let you do it, and they're all distanced apart. So I spoke to an ice cream truck who served hot and cold beverages. I spoke to local sort of elves. I spoke to everyone. And obviously
local elves.
Yeah, I'm keeping it real. There might be children listening. And obviously then I sent a letter to Santa and had a big event planned, and it was outside the front of my own home where I live. I had a gazebo up because it was absolutely bucketing down with rain. It was umbrellas. And I went and asked local businesses to just donate a gift, and whether it's a selection box or anything at all. I said, all they haven't got to. So local businesses chipped in, and we received about 150 presents, which were to the local children, all completely free of charge. And then I went out and purchased about another 400 because we just put tickets on, and then we said to people, right, queue up, meet Santa. We can't allow children not to visit Santa. And then if children are listening, cover their ears. I dressed up as Santa that time because Santa was busy. Stood outside and gave 600 presents to 600 children, and it was phenomenal. That was the biggest event. There was posts, people over the road taking pictures saying, "Can't believe this estate agent's done this," blah blah blah, and that was for me the foundations of the community, and I carried on and done it every year since. I've gone to the local school now, which is where I host the event at the local school, where all the school children meet the Grinch, Santa, elves, and just go around the school during the day with like elves walking around classrooms, the Grinch walking around classrooms, and just really hyping it up and buzzing it, because the heart of any community, in my opinion, is the children and the people. So it's kind of, as long as I'm out there making a difference to them, and that implements, it kind of impacts the family directly, because when my kids come home from school and they're happy, that's all you ever want. You don't want them to be, oh, it's an awful day, and the whole COVID situation was awful, and it was just dampening all the spirits. And yeah, so I do that. I also donate loads of money to charities, percentages of certain fees. I donate to certain charities, mainly hospices. I am ambassador, and I do a lot of work for the British transplant team and all transplants. So I sponsor football teams or normal transplant, netball, all that. I do as much as I can for them, because again, it's kind of something was taken away from them, but it's not impacting their lives directly. And it's, to me, I'm a giver, so I always give as much as I can back, and that's where the community element is, and I'll never stop that. And I always donate to local groups. I've just sponsored a darts competition, so I've got to get used to got to throw some darts soon. That'll be streamed live on YouTube, and I'll put the dates up.
Mate, that's amazing. I look forward to it. And if you're cruising around as Santa, assuming that Santa's busy at the end of the year, is Sarah the Grinch, or is she watching from the sidelines?
Elf.
That's brilliant, mate. But no, I love that. I love that whole story and the motives and the reason behind it. I think there's something really quite heartwarming about, you look after the community and the community looks after you. And clearly the community has looked after you, because they're showing that by voting with their feet in terms of what that's led to in business. But I think the key thing is there, Aaron, you said, the kids had nothing. There was a real dampener. Everyone was a bit down on the luck. Everything was being cancelled. It's supposed to be the most magical time of the year. And I think we all remember that year, in places was anything but magical. So it's good that you did all those things with the intention of making people happy, not necessarily thinking, okay, well, if I dress up as Santa this year and I can blag a couple of hundred presents, I might get an extra 50k on my bottom line next year. That's not the thought process. It's leading with the right intentions, doing the right thing, putting the community first. And then if you're lucky, the rest follows as a byproduct. But really, it's just focusing on doing right by people. And mate, there's something very good about that. Because I always think that regardless of how successful and how profitable the business is, how many properties you're dealing with, how many clients you've got, how much money you're making, if you can fundamentally feel in yourself like you're making a difference, you feel fulfilled, you feel like you belong, and that's just something, mate, that no pipeline can put a price on. You can't level that in terms of income. So, mate, massive props to you guys for what you've achieved. In terms of talking about what you've achieved, give us a bit of a snapshot. So you started the business, obviously a bit of a cold start venture, day zero, you're out knocking doors, doing fake demo tours with owners to show them how you can sell the home, not got a penny in your pipeline, hardly got 2 pennies to rub together in the bank. Financially, if you don't mind sharing, how's that changed over the last couple of years? How's that impacted on your life? What has that meant to you and Sarah and your children? Like, how has life changed over the last couple of years?
In the easiest way of explaining and saying it, life's changed in a way that I'd never ever imagined it to have changed, because obviously from earning what I was earning to what I'm now earning, life's just ridiculously took a leap for the better. And from there's no targets, there's not a target set, but there's certain things in place that you can achieve with eXp, such as, I know we'll touch base, capping and then iconing. And to me, when I seen that, it was only ever the way I wanted to go, because from a financial position, if I could cap, if I could hit icon, it's going to make a major difference to everything. And for me, the whole life around us, we've got 3 children, 2 dogs, a beautiful home, which, we've renovated, and I couldn't picture to do any of this. And the main thing is we've got savings for a rainy day as well. And I didn't have any of that before. I barely had enough. It was one of them. Do you know what I mean? So
On the breadline.
exactly, yeah. Just to see where I am now and what I've achieved with help of, say, Sarah, and it's just majorly different. And the whole life outlook is just, I'm able to support people, family. I'm able to support the local community, and again, it's just nice to see that the kids are happy. And for me, it's my children are happy, and yeah, it's the way that the financial side's changed. It's just madness.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, I can always do better. I am very harsh on myself and hard on myself, but that's because I probably say this quote now. I never dreamed about success. I worked for it. So to me, I can't rest. I can't be happy until I see how it's having that snowball, in a good way, snowball effect to the children, and they're taking over a legacy or whatever it may be. But for me, I am very proud of myself from where I've come, but not too proud, because I can always do better.
Amazing. That's a great answer, mate. And you mentioned 2 things there that have been incredibly relevant for your business in terms of the profitability, the bottom line, and being able to give your family that better future. The 2 things that you touched on were cap and icon. Makes complete sense to anyone listening to the podcast who is an eXp agent, wherever they are in the world. They'll be familiar with that terminology. Someone who's sat in a Connell's office at the moment, watching the rain drizzle down the window, listening to this podcast while the manager's gone out on evaluation, will be like, what they're talking about? What the hell's a cap? What the hell's an icon? So can you just tell me, in your words, what a cap is and what that meant to your business? And then if you could just explain what an icon is, and again, what that's meant to your future.
Yeah, of course. A cap is just this, really. It's
Do you know what, mate? Mate, listen, I'm the biggest cap wearer in eXp. When I cap, mate, they didn't even send me one. So Adam, if you're listening, I never got my capping cap, but I got the benefits of the cap, just not the cap itself.
Yeah, I've got gravy on mine, but I'll probably achieve it, and then I get still gravy on it. But no, so capping. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, because this is just from my head, and I've got figures running around in my head at the moment. But basically, capping it's not a target as such, but it's there to be achieved. If you, as an eXp agent, because you can set your own fees, you can, it's your business at the end of the day. If you pay eXp, I think it's a set of £24,000, which is the equivalent to £80,000 turnover, then you receive a cap in the post, or at the Christmas event. No, you get the capping status, which is then going to be, basically, you don't pay the 30% split, you only pay the £250 per transaction for the admin. And then when you hit the icon status, you remove the cap and you get a medal.
Yeah.
So capping alone made major difference, because we were seeing more of the money, and we were seeing more, being able to pump more back into the advertising, the marketing, the business, the kids' banks, everything, saving the money. And then the icon is where you then transact another 40 after capping, or you do, I think this might be wrong, £400,000 within a 12-month period. But the key for me was the 40 transactions. And then hitting icon status means they award you, eXp award you £16,000 in shares, which again, for me, that share pot, which is a major sort of, looking at the very distant future, it's a pension, it's a route into the final stages after work. It's just a plan. But capping £24,000 to eXp, £80,000 equivalent in gross commission, I think might be right. And then the icon is 40 transactions after. But as from a business perspective, it's massively impacted, changed lives where I didn't expect to be. So yeah.
No, huge, absolutely enormous. So yeah, bang on. So effectively, for anyone who's kind of like trying to work out the numbers on that, what Aaron means by comparing the 8K and the 24K is that once your 30% amount to £24,000, so because eXp only take 30% of the commission, that means that you need to do 8K in top line revenue. You pay 24,000 to eXp over the course of a trading year. And then from that point forward, you keep 100% of your commission, just lesser a fixed transaction fee of 250 quid. So if your average fee is £10,000, let's just say for the sake of rounded numbers, on a typical deal, you'll get 7, eXp will take 3. Post cap, you'll retain 9,750, and eXp will take just 250. So the reason why Aaron sort of says that that puts more money in the family pot is because it infinitely improves the profit margins of an agent, because they're getting so much of that split without any sort of impact on their overhead. And then the icon, mate, this is something that it's worth us doubling down on, because, you know, a lot of the time we're so excited about starting a business, about getting our name up in lights, about getting our fancy boards with our and our partner's face on it, that we're not really thinking about an exit strategy. We're not thinking about a pension. We're not thinking about what happens when the kids are 18, what happens when I retire, when I don't want to be selling houses anymore, when I need a new challenge. It's important that you've got some kind of an exit strategy. And what you've just achieved, mate, with the icon status is absolutely mind-blowing. Icon is something that's existed in eXp for a while, but has only recently been introduced to eXp, the UK faction. And effectively, that means that Aaron's done 40 transactions post cap. And now, of the £24,000 that he's paid to eXp, 16K of that is being reimbursed back into Aaron's bank in the form of stocks and shares. So he's got £16,000 in equity sitting in a portfolio. And as the company continues to grow and expand and develop, and hopefully the share price starts to increase and it goes up over the years, that's effectively money in your pocket increasing over time. So if we're at $10 a share today and you got £16,000 in shares, and then we're $100 a share in 5 years' time, that 16K you've just been given is all of a sudden worth 160,000. And mate, the massive thing about that is I spoke to a lot of our agents in the US who iconed a few years back, and they was able to buy family houses outright. They was able to move over to Puerto Rico, buy condos in Spain, because purely off the equity, nothing to do with selling houses, just because that vested interest they've got in eXp has developed over the years. So that's enormous, mate. And you know, that is truly going to be life changing, if not now, in a few years' time. So that's, mate, mad props to you. Absolutely mad props. And moving forward, so where we are at the moment, your business has grown over the last couple of years. You brought your partner into the fold, so Sarah now runs the business with you, and you're responsible for going out, seeing the clients, winning the business. Sarah helps out with a lot of the phone calls, the admin, the back end processes, and whatnot. How's that partnership working? What's it like being in business with your better half?
I know some good solicitors for divorce, but no, no. Honestly, unreal. It was kind of from because I met Sarah at work. That's how we met. But when we announced our relationship in the office environment, it was frowned upon. We were moved locations. It was just like, what are you doing?
Right.
So yeah, it's just something that, again, a lot of people are like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you work with your missus. I don't know how you do it. I don't. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to work with anyone else, because it's one of them misses where, yeah, it gets disgusting. Best friend, you know, absolutely one of them. And for me, I wouldn't want to work with anyone else. And yeah, it's just so, because we bounce off each other. And she believes, our beliefs are the same. We work the same sort of ethic. Yeah, late nights. She don't mind late nights out, because she knows what we're doing, and she knows it's for the greater good, the family, the community, you know. So no, I wouldn't want to work with anyone else. And yeah, unreal.
Amazing. Well, that's good to see, mate. And what's the plan for the future? Because you've obviously got, you know, a solid market share. You've got a load of properties, ton of happy clients. Business is booming, making good money from selling houses. And you're looking to kind of pay that forward now, I guess. So I guess you're the sort of next phase in your business, and the next evolution in the Aaron Tonks brand, as we've said, is, I guess, in a weird way, it's kind of like similar to what you've done in your community. You're trying to broaden that impact. You're trying to pay it forward. You're trying to give it back. You're trying to help other people. And I guess with the eXp framework, through the sort of, you know, the helping, the mentoring, the coaching, the recruiting, the growth piece, is the next sort of phase in your evolution, I guess, to kind of help pay forward that experience that you've built, and how you've grown your agency to help other agents grow their business. So tell me a little bit about that. What's the plans on that side? What does the future look like for your estate agency business?
So obviously, as me and Sarah are here, and we've in this business, it's my plan moving forward is to continue to do what we're doing, but if not excel, just really double up on that. But then it's also from the point of view which I mentioned earlier on, being my flame was fireproof, jackets, dampened spirits. I want to then now reach out to other estate agents that are in similar, if not the same position, that are being told, you're going to leave us, you're going to go nowhere, what are you doing? You're making a big mistake. I want to then now reach out to people and speak to them and talk to them and to show what can be done, And for me, I've done this is my third year now, and I'm going to potentially, if August plan, icon again this year. And for me, I now need to touch base with people and explain to them that it's not a sales pitch. I'm not going to sell to them. It's more of a, this is what you're worth, and I'm not there to tell them what they're worth. I'm there to show them that I was down. I was in a very bad place. I was, like I said, being smothered, and then joining eXp. It just financially, mentally, physically, all that changed my life, and that's now what I want to sort of give back. Like I'm always giving back to the community. Now I want to give back to people, because other estate agents locally that I meet, or other estate agents further afield that I meet, they're part of the community, and they deserve to do what's right for them. And it's their decision.
Or at least know what the options are, and that's
exactly.
what when people sort of, and I guess it's just like a stereotypical British thing to do, to think, oh, if something sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Oh, what's the catch? Where's the small print? And don't get me wrong, I went through that myself for a long time. Even when I was in eXp, I was looking for the small print for 6 months, and it's just when people let preconceived perceptions stop them from taking action, or at least exploring it, is what disappoints me. But everyone's got the right to know the options that are available to them. And I don't know, Aaron, when it comes to you sort of paying it forward, I often think that, if I was to pack my bags today, jump in my car, drive to the airport, catch a flight, and go over to Mount Everest, and I was going to kind of climb that big snowy mountain, I'd quite like a guide with me. I'd quite like somebody to meet me at the bottom of the mountain and show me the best path up, show me where to not place my feet, what equipment to buy, the safest way for me to kind of get to the ascent and get myself back down safely. It pays to have somebody showing you the way, and it's no different in business. If somebody's walked the path that you're about to walk down, and somebody's walked that path successfully and maybe achieved what it is that you're hoping to achieve, why wouldn't you want to connect with that person, tap into their experience, learn from their mistakes, avoid the pitfalls, and get from A to B as quickly and as smoothly and hopefully as profitably as possible? And Aaron, I know from speaking to you over the years, you're a guy who's, I'll be honest, mate, you've probably got one of the best energies out of any agent that I've ever worked with. And I've spoke to and consulted with hundreds of estate agents at this point. And I think that says a lot about you, your cheery outlook on life, your positive can-do attitude towards business. And I'm not surprised that we're sat here today, 2 years down the line, having the conversation that we are about your success. I would have thought we would have been on day one. And I'm delighted to see that you've managed to kind of dream that into reality and work hard to get to where you've got, mate. And I asked you before if you're proud. You said, kind of, but there's more to come. I respect that outlook, but sometimes, mate, you've got to stop and give yourself a pat on the back, because you should be proud of what you built, you and Sarah. You're showing a fantastic example to your children, and I do genuinely believe that the best is yet to come from your business, mate. So thank you for being in business with us. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast today, mate.
Thank you, and thank you.
Right, I better start trying to book you now for the next podcast in 3 years' time, right?
Yes, please.
Good man. Appreciate your time, Aaron.
Thanks, Dan.
Take care, brother.
See you a bit. Bye.